Well, David Johansen, welcome to the Refinery Podcast. It is always good to see you. I love every conversation that I have with you, but I'm really glad that we were able to make time to be on here together today. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure. No, the feeling is mutual. I always enjoy getting together. I always come away with things learned and a better person. So thank you.
Well, this is an episode I expect a lot of people want to watch because I know people love being with you and around you and love knowing you. You're an excellent networker, and I've definitely benefited from your professional services on many occasions. But I think about like when you and I really kind of started to know each other. When we actually met, you were working for someone else and then quickly working for yourself. But we really kind of got to know each other at a very pivotal time, didn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. I had really, as we really got to know each other, I had jumped in and started Carolina's Choice, the carpet and upholstery cleaning company. And 2 weeks as I got into that, COVID hit and the world shut down and fear set in. And my wife was scared and I was scared and I was trying to figure out what to do.
You had a lot
And
going on
thankfully,
personally and professionally at that time, didn't you?
yes, yes. And thankfully, at that point, actually, it was your resilient entrepreneur class that I saw.
Mhm.
I was stuck at home. I just remember kind of losing my mind a little bit, like
Mhm.
the fear just getting bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
like, did I make a mistake? Have I messed up my family's future? And then I saw the resilient entrepreneur course, and I'm like, I've got to do something where can feel forward momentum and learning or growth or something
Yes.
while I was stuck. And that ended up being huge, huge for me, very pivotal for my journey.
Yeah. Yeah, and, it's look, the content is great, but the people that were in that group was just a great mix of people and, everybody growth-minded, forward-thinking, and all in on the conversation. Everybody was highly engaged, and so it was, definitely, um, up there in terms of comparative to, sometimes when you get in a group and maybe people feel like they're forced to be in on the line or they're not so into it. Everybody was all in on that, weren't they?
Yeah, it was a fantastic group, and I was there for information at the time. I wanted to learn and grow, but as you said, that group was an absolute blessing for me. You and that group became so when I grew up in 96 South Carolina, but I'd been out west and then I was up in North Carolina. So when I came back to start the business, I didn't know anyone in Greenville
Yeah.
or very few people. And that that group in the resilient entrepreneur class became my beginning of my network. And from there, not only did I get enriched just from hearing everyone's story and their growth and their
Mhm.
questions, and to your point, everyone was very vulnerable and honest and open about what they were struggling with or had struggled with, how they overcame things. And it really was just what I needed at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And really, there's some people in that group that we were able to continue after that with some other mastermind groups and different things. So we got to benefit from being together with some of those folks even beyond that. So
Yeah, some of my best friends still today.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've always appreciated that. And, so before we get off of that, like, let's just highlight a couple of things, out of there. We talked about the engagement of the people, but just in terms of, like, what you were dealing with personally and, the stress of, "Oh my gosh, now I started this business, I made this jump and, the world's going crazy." What were some things in there that you might have grabbed onto that you still use today?
Yeah. So, and that was, like we've said, that was a really pivotal time.
Mhm,
So for me, a lot of years, I'd been stuck in a job that I did not like
mhm,
and felt trapped and felt frustrated. And I had finally broken free, gotten enough, I guess, guts to jump out.
mhm,
And then when everything shut down, it's scary enough anyway to leave a secure job and start something else. But then when, the world was in such upheaval and all of a sudden I couldn't go into houses to clean and no one wanted, my services for a little bit. I don't know how else to describe it except that it really was like almost a momentum
mhm,
kind of a thing.
mhm.
Like, if I allowed myself to dwell on that fear and, the unknown and what was gonna happen, like, it almost swallowed me whole, like, it was just unbelievable. And in that class, some of the things that really helped me was one of the things that I still use a lot is looking at, we have all these stories, right, that come in our mind, and fear and um, anxiety and all of these things come from the stories. And you talked about the stories we tell ourselves.
Mhm.
And so I think a lot of times about that. What story am I telling myself? And what's the worst that really could happen?
Yeah.
How likely is that? What's the best that could happen? How likely is that? And usually that gives you more of a reality set. And this is where we are. This is where we're going. We know there are some risks, but they're not nearly as big as we like to make them out to be in the moment sometimes.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that I don't remember exactly if this came directly from the course, but it definitely came from our
Mhm.
interactions, you and I, and talking through things, and talking with the group, is that when that fear is setting in, I've learned that I had to remind myself
Mhm.
the proof that that wasn't real.
Yeah.
Like a big example for me was I was just starting out. I'd cleaned a couple carpets. There was still a lot I didn't know, but there were things I knew really well. And um, one of my first cleaning experiences was actually at your house, and there were some things that, like a smoothie that had been spilled, and I came to clean.
Yes.
And getting that stain out at that point, I didn't know how to get it out. And I
Mhm.
cleaned it and I was so excited. And then I was like, oh no, I didn't get it out.
Mhm.
And so I researched and researched, came back, got that stain out. You guys were really happy. And so when I would start, that imposter syndrome would start setting in. I'd be like, oh, no, no, no. Rick was super happy. So and so was super happy. This customer over here, they raved that it was the best cleaning they've ever had.
Yeah.
This customer over here said that I got out stains that they'd had this carpet cleaned twice with other cleaners. That stain had still been there. I got it out. And just kind of reminding myself, I guess changing the story. I hadn't thought about it that way, but
Yeah.
really just changing the internal story that reinforced the reality and the growth and where I was headed, and not the fear and the unknown and the catastrophizing that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that you those are good real life examples too. And it's interesting how much of, when we're catastrophizing things or, just kind of stuck in that fear loop. Like last week, I uh reshared a video that I'd done about something called the terror barrier. And I think a couple of things I'm trying to say here is that you did you really pointed out a lot of that stuff is 100% imaginary, the worry, the fear, the anxiety,
Yeah.
and also it's habitual. Like we have habitual ways of thinking about it. Our mind just kind of gets into a rut about certain things. By the way, this is a little bit tangential, but I think I know you'll appreciate this and grab onto it. I was talking with last week, Furman University celebrated their 200th anniversary. So, my wife, who works at Furman University, was talking with one of the professors there in the behavioral sciences and neuroscience, and they had just completed this new study. I think there were like 10,000 people that did this study. I'll have to get the exact data on this, but here's the essence of it is that over time, what I already was aware of is that we about 90% of what we think about today is exactly what we thought about yesterday. And so the question is, are our thoughts serving us? Are our emotions serving us, right? Because the thoughts
Right.
kick off the emotions. So I was already aware of that. Like even the way we think is very habitual and patterned. But not only that, even when we change the content, so let's say if we got it to like I 6 out of 10 things I'm thinking about are the same. It's still either predominantly negative or predominantly positive. And they did this study over a wide variety of people in different stations in life, and it's essentially understanding that, like, not only is the content of your thoughts very habitual and just repeated, but the actual sort of orientation towards positivity or negativity really is a habitual process too,
Oh,
right?
absolutely, and kind of, if I may, going again right off that pivotal point in my life, and the fear and the anxiety and all of those things that were so huge. I still battle fear. I still have, those things come up, but the way I handle them now is totally different. And the way, I guess, my normal mode for my life is very different. And just the whole journey as an entrepreneur. And I think that's one of the blessings of this journey. It's a difficult journey, but you have to confront things that maybe in non-entrepreneurial life
Mhm.
you can kind of hide from easier maybe.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to confront these stories and these patterns and in order to advance. And I think that's true in all of life, but I
Yes.
don't know, at least for me, I've been able to confront them more clearly as an entrepreneur, and I've felt those things exposed more as an entrepreneur. Um, and just, I don't know, like my wife at one point in the journey, I had been trying some new things, and this is, going through coaching and, um, different challenges I'd given myself, and reading different things to further my thought process and my knowledge. And at one point, she made the comment that I was more resilient than I had been, and that was a pretty strong word for her to use, and
Yeah.
it shocked me, honestly.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And so we had had something pretty catastrophic happen, and she's like, "You were, frustrated by it for, a day.
Mhm.
um we're still dealing with it or whatever, but it was like a matter of hours and you were back working at it." Where she's like, earlier in life, if that had happened, I mean, it had been 2 weeks, you'd have been kind of moaning and groaning
Mhm.
about it and how frustrated you were. And I appreciated her saying that. And I think that's very real in entrepreneurship. You deal with, I guess, so many different kinds of obstacles. At least for me, I can see that I have gotten better at navigating
It's
challenges
awesome. I love that.
and approaching them from a learning, from a growing, instead of, "Oh, why me?" Which is a phrase I used a lot in my younger years. Like,
Mhm.
"Why did this happen to me? What's wrong with me? Like, why isn't life working the way I think it should?" And now my internal dialogue has changed 100%. And my external results, while I'm nowhere near where I want to get, I'm on that path, and I have confidence that I'm on that path. And it's just a very different way of living.
That's awesome. Well, and it's no surprise that you're talking about the changes in your internal world. By the way, I just wanna say, and I'm glad that you highlighted this part of it. The one of the beautiful things that I love about the entrepreneurial journey is, first of all, I actually love that the odds are against us. There's kind of a maverick in me that loves that because I know that it makes the entrepreneurial journey such a crucible for growth and such a crucible for tapping into your potential and understanding your purpose in a better and more clear way.
Yeah.
And so it's no surprise that as you say that, and listen, I would easily concur with that. It's been excellent. I mean, to see you grow and to see you have greater capacities to lead other people. Um, so it's no surprise that even as your internal world has expanded and grown, that your external world has too. Because, we started this conversation talking about COVID and, no one really wants you in their house to um, now uh, Carolina's choice has evolved into Green Shield, right? And a
Yes.
lot of like waypoints and a lot of many more pivot points along the way
Yes.
from there, right?
Yes.
And so many other big and small, of course, decisions being made. And so, um,
Yes.
yeah. So, Why don't you just do this? Kind of outline, like, let's do this since we've kind of started by sort of talking about our encounter and the idea of resilience. And but why don't you kind of outline, like, from that moment of COVID to Green Shield, what's been sort of the waypoints of your journey since then?
Yeah, so we started off with Carolina's Choice, and which again was a carpet and upholstery cleaning company. Worked to grow that, and then oh man, there's so many things I could say. I'll try to keep it on a linear path here. And so then I've gotten into several different partnerships along the way. And so I brought on partners for Carolina's Choice. And then we started, I went to a convention, I think early on in that first year. It was a carpet cleaning and restoration convention
Hmm.
in Cincinnati, and started really seeing a lot of the water, fire, and mold mitigation and restoration,
Yeah.
and was interested in that and talking to people that were in that field. And then, started uh, a restoration company and then continuing to grow them both and realizing what was working in partnerships, what at the beginning, I think in business in general, in every area, I wasn't as clear about what I wanted
Hmm.
and what I wanted for myself and in the business and the way my life was even to play out in all that and partnerships and all of those things. So continue to learn and grow. And then left that restoration company, started my own, had partners that I brought in on that. And since I've bought those partners out, and so now both companies, we've combined them both.
Hmm.
It's all one company. So Green Shield Restoration and Cleaning, water, fire, mold, mitigation, and then the restoration and rebuild on that side. And then the carpet, rug, and upholstery cleaning is still an integral part of everything that we do. And you and I had some good conversations as I was really debating how I wanted it to look, how I wanted it to feel. I felt kind of almost like torn a little bit between because I knew I wanted to build both companies, but having them represented as two separate was feeling increasingly, I don't know, fractured in my thinking.
Hmm.
And there was different economic concerns as well. And um, just wanted to thank you because it was conversations that we had that helped me really be able to get behind and understand. You helped talk me through to get the answer that I already had in here, but I
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
put in here.
Yeah.
And since we've made that change, eh, I can't even describe, like, in my mind, what the relief has been just to think about it as one entity.
Yeah.
I know that sounds almost silly, but
Yeah.
it really has been just like a, ah, and the team, we built a team I'm very proud of. We've got customers that are loving the work that we do. And the things I loved about carpet and upholstery cleaning that we come in, either something's happened or the space isn't where people want it. We come in, we have a solution, we get it right, we leave, they're happy, it's clean, or a stain is out, or we've done everything we can. Some stains don't come out, but we get everything out that we possibly can, and customers can sense that we do care, and we've had a lot of very strong customer reactions, and that's carried over into now the restoration and mitigation side of things. There's a lot of misunderstandings around mold,
Hmm.
what's dangerous, what's not, and so it's been neat really diving into that space and helping customers feel more calm and confident in what their options are, what the ramifications are, instead of kind of going back to that fear. There's a lot of fear around that industry and trying to pull the fear out
Yeah.
and saying, well, this is, what's here. This is possible solutions. And this is how you can get to a state where there's no worry, there's no fear. We've got you. So it's been a very cool journey into that space.
Yeah. That I love the way you talked about that whole journey. And it's interesting. Okay, so there's a few parts I just want to highlight in there that you and I have done a significant amount of coaching together, and I think you did a beautiful job of really pointing out in a coaching partnership, the power is in you. So the power's not really in me as a coach. I'm not, a guru telling you exactly how to think or live your life. It's really the power of the question, the power of the structure, but it's drawing out because
Yeah.
it's really the power of clarity and helping you honestly see and connect with what's already there. And that's kind of a faith journey, right? Because
Yeah.
that idea of just being able to see it all as one thing, that's almost like it was waiting on you to get to it, it was there, it just was waiting on you to
Yes.
arrive, and so in other words, spiritually, I suppose it was there, but, intellectually and physically, you just had to kinda navigate to that point and go, "Oh, yeah, this is what I'm really after," right? And then, I loved how you talked that now shows up and everything that you kind of brought with you, all the great learnings and teaching you're able to more quickly apply, like, what it was like for me to call you up, when you're 2 hours away from me actually and go, "Hey, David, we just spilled wine and smoothie on the carpet at the same time." Right? And we're freaking out here, we've got these 2 massive stains in the middle of our living room, and then, get us to where we needed to be in all the ways you described to now when you got someone who's freaking out about they just found out they've got this mold that they had no idea that was there,
Yeah.
that yeah, you can be there with them, right?
Yeah. No, and I love so many of the things that you said there. And I think you mentioned clarity. That is the powerful, powerful thing that I didn't even realize I needed.
Mhm.
And the more I go and the more clarity I get, the more clarity I realize I need.
Yeah.
And the more ways that I thought I was being clear, I'm realizing, well, I haven't been quite as clear as I thought I was,
Mhm.
like with employees, with partners, with myself
Yeah.
and, my spouse and all of these things with entrepreneurship. I can't think of a single learning from entrepreneurship that doesn't bless me in the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It all connects. The way I do approach relationships in business filters through to how I approach relationships with my kids and my wife
Mhm.
and just and customers and the way I perceive and approach that has changed like so
Yeah.
much. Um, which kind of goes back to positivity. And I'm in that class. This was from the class. You talked a lot about the Stockdale paradox and how, we do want to be positive, but we still got to be real
Deal
about
with
what's
reality.
happening
Yeah.
and the tough things we have to navigate, but we can navigate them in a positive way. And that's been one of the key things that really has my certainty in that keeps growing.
Yeah.
And my certainty that and I guess this is if I had to put my entrepreneurial journey in one sentence, it would be that my confidence, because of coaching, because of good books, because of experience and falling down and getting back up and navigating, that my confidence that I can handle things has gone up exponentially. And that if something comes up and feels impossible, feels overwhelming, I know from experience that through, my experience, problem solving, my network, my coach, um, that I can handle it. I can navigate a way through it, and that's the core of what's changed, I think, in my life.
Nice. Yeah. Well said, very well said, and, what I among other things, one of the things that I appreciate about you is that you've been open to that, and I think when we're talking about, like there's a couple things. First of all, I really loved what you said there about as you've grown in one area, it goes over into other areas, and that's because there's no private good, right? When good things happen, it's really almost impossible for us to keep them from spilling over into the other parts of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And that comes a lot from sort of the humility and openness to the process and the intentional steps. And I know you have taken plenty of them. Of course, some things that we've done together, but also, you're an avid reader and you're constantly in a particular study of something, right? To gain knowledge and wisdom and apply it. So let me just ask, speak on that just a little bit. Just talk about reading. How would you characterize or explain the value of the reading that you do and why that matters to you?
Yeah, it's been instrumental. There's a lot that I could say to that. Some key ways that I view the world that have shifted
Mhm.
have come about from something that's impacted me from a book. And in fact, some of the, I guess, the key understandings we've even talked about here today, the fact that I can handle this as being kind of something I've grabbed onto,
Mhm.
that's from the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me. I love how she explained that. Um, Part of my understanding, I think, th- and if I'm going too long, let me know. But part of, I guess, one of the other things that I've just loved that I've gotten from books is I think, at least for me, when I was younger, I thought, okay, I'm going to do life, right? I'm going to work hard, whatever. And then I'm just going to hit this spot. I don't know why I thought this. No one has ever said this, but I thought I was going to hit this spot where everything was going to be easy. You know, one day when this happens, I'm going to be happy and everything's going to be great. And reading like Shoe Dog, the Nike story, reading, um, there's a book called Undressed that's about the salad dressing. This guy that makes a salad dressing brand and all the challenges they overcame. Just so many books that I've read about entrepreneurs that are real. None of them have a calm journey. None of them. They're all about to go under 5 times, and everything's going to fall apart if they can't find a solution by the end of the week. And it's, how did they scramble and dig in and do these hard, impossible looking things? And for me, that helped me realize that's the journey. That's what we're doing. That's so the fact that my entrepreneurial journey feels chaotic and hectic and stressful, although with coaching and with proper boundaries and processes that can, you're right, we can bring some of that back, but understanding that that's normal. Like
Yeah.
if you're feeling like that, it's not that there's something wrong with you. It's that you're pursuing, and if you're afraid and have, some of those things going on, you're pursuing something that's worthwhile, that's hard, and there's real consequences. And I don't know. I think that means in some ways you're almost more alive. You're diving in, and I guess what the Man in the Arena poem always comes to mind
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
So that was kind of a long answer, but I guess I'll just say that like really at a level I can't even, and all Brene Brown's books about fear and anxiety have profoundly shifted how I look at those things too. I do go in waves where I'll read, like devour and kind of think about, and then I'll hit spots where it's almost like I need to just let it settle
Yeah. You got to process.
and not
Yeah.
just get new information and kind of think through and write. And so I kind of go in waves that way. But I don't. I have run into people who felt like they didn't need that new information or they didn't need to pursue it. And I don't understand that. There's so much out there, so many smart people
Mhm.
that have figured things out, and we can learn from them and take that shortcut, or we can wait and let life beat that lesson into us. And
Absolutely.
I'd rather
Yeah.
speed mine up if I can.
Yeah. Well, and good for you, and again, it's something you're doing, uh, when nobody's watching that shows up when people are watching. I think that's a key thing, and every time you do, you're expanding your awareness, right? Because if we don't,
Yes.
look, we can stick with the awareness we have, but is that getting us where we wanna go, right?
Right.
And so books is one of the best ways to expand our awareness, give us a different perspective on things, right?
And isn't
And
that a key for, again, talking about relationships?
yeah.
That's something that so this year this will be our your wedding anniversary in
Nice.
August, my wife and I.
Ours as well in December, so
That's
we'll
awesome.
high five each other when we see each other. So, yeah.
Absolutely. But there's been key things that I've taken away from the reading and the coaching and the personal work that has shifted our marriage in a very positive way.
Nice.
Looking at things from a different perspective. Because isn't that, I don't know about you, but I love talking with people that are learning, that are growing, that
Mhm.
are willing to consider things from other perspectives.
Yeah.
And then we learn together and we grow, together. And there's that vulnerability and humility. Um, the understanding that we have a lot more to learn.
Yeah.
And I get filled up by meeting with those kind of people. That just is a key thing I need in my life.
Oh, yeah. Well said. Very good. And there's a piece of this, and I want to use this to kind of segue into one particular area of your journey that I think you can speak into. I loved how you said, I go in waves, and then I got to like kind of, I said process, but really,
Hmm.
the beauty of that's such a healthy thing because y- we are going to get our best learning and our best growth from our own experience,
Yeah.
informed by someone else's experience. But, some people write books out of their own awareness and out of their own experience. And if it's going to be valuable for you, it has to be a part of your awareness and part of your experience, right?
Yes.
And so that's the great part is that, you're not just like a reservoir, right? It's a river, right? You got to let the knowledge come out and be applied and have experience in it and test it for yourself. I think one area that you've definitely done that in is the area of partnerships and the
Yeah.
exploration and the taking on different partners for different things. So let's just kind of think of that as a topic. And like, let's imagine that you're giving the master class based on you're writing the partnership book, right? What do
Okay.
you think would be the chapters in your partnership book? What are some things that you've learned that you go, hey, if there's some things I've learned, I think you should know.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And as I segment into that too, what you just said, I found to be profoundly true with learning. It's got to be getting applied or reflected on. So I wanted to do a business on my own for 20, I don't know how many years. And I read books and I read books and I read books and I didn't really take the action. And I haven't really learned all the things until I actually started the business. And now I'm learning while reading and stuff. So I agree with that. So for the partnerships, I think the way I've if someone was coming to me and saying, "Hey, I'm about to enter in a partnership. I've got these people that I'm going to work with." Um, I guess one of my first questions to them would be like, "What is each person bringing? How is that being split up? How are you going to split up the duties?" Kind of talking about the clarity. That's one area where clarity. If you think you have everything clear, clarify it times 100. Because something's going to come up later. If you don't think about it ahead of time, where you can map it out and make the decisions easy and clear,
Hmm.
it's going to muddy the waters later.
Yeah.
The other thing that there's a few things that have profoundly changed the way I enter into partnerships. And one of those, I was actually watching a podcast by Cody Sanchez. I don't know if you've seen any of her stuff, but she does a lot of like buying and selling
Yeah.
businesses, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So she said she had a business partnership where she lost $1 million
Hmm.
and it stung. And she now has different rules that she follows before she goes into a partnership. And I really liked those rules. And I've kind of modified my own version of
Hmm.
that. So she's got a certain amount of time that she has to know that person and preferably know them in a couple different settings.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, really, really see who they are and what they're about. Um, for me, the criteria are I have to see them in a couple situations where they disagree
Mm.
and see how they disagree.
Yeah.
Can they disagree and have it be a healthy conversation? Or if somebody disagrees with them, is it a threat
Yeah.
that has to be pounded out?
Yeah.
And I think communication and disagreement and how that goes, because you're going to disagree at some point.
Yeah.
like, you're gonna. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? You're trying to find the best idea, the best way forward,
Mhm.
but you're gonna have to disagree and talk through it to figure out what that is. And so that's been a huge thing. And then the other thing that I took from this one from Cody again is kind of so several of my earlier partnerships, and I guess this is part of my nature. I want to be generous. I want to be, show that I'm all in and I,
Mhm.
I I believe in you and I believe in us together, which I think is good. But I also think kind of you've got to be very realistic with what is the current situation, what is being brought, and I guess have them prove themselves for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So there's a partnership I'm in the middle of navigating right now. And that person has experience doing what I want them to do. They have a track record. And so part of our agreement is that as they do what they I believe they can do, that's why we're talking about it.
Mhm.
And as the company hits certain targets,
Yeah.
then they become a partner.
Yeah.
And so I think just like the way I hire people has kind of shifted a little bit too. And I'm looking not just for potential, right? It's very easy to see potential in people or situations or partnerships, but like what's the reality right now? Does that make sense? If it does, then great. And then we can coach and work towards the potential because
Yeah.
I believe in the potential.
Yeah, yeah.
But the right now has to make sense too.
Yeah, that's really good. I by the way, I think there's something in what you're saying in this current partnership. There's a few things. One is, you're talking about speed,
Mhm.
and what I mean by that is this not just stepping on the gas and forgetting you have a brake pedal too. I think that
Yep.
idea of, "Hey, if we get to we're not partners yet. We'll explore a partnership, and if we can get to this, then we're having another discussion about."
Then let's go
Right?
and the speed and
Yeah,
yeah,
and you may and there may be a need to do that 2 or 3 times, like, "Hey, one of the things that I love is the idea that you partner up and you collaborate sideways. So,
yeah,
you meaning if we're gonna partner, we each bring something that the other doesn't have, and that's the
yes,
real reason we partner, and you kind of express that, like, "I see that he's got something," so that then it's a win in that sense. You both get to expand through that. If not, then yeah, you can do stuff together, but it doesn't have to be that long-term commitment and full on, it's more of a collaboration, right? And in
yeah,
everybody's industry, that's gonna look different. What is a collaboration really, right? Collaboration for me is
yep,
not the same as it is for you. Um,
right.
I think that's really I really appreciate that. I'll just say one other thing, and then I'll let you finish because I know I'm kind of jumping in here.
No, you're good.
Yeah, they're like, currently, I'm exploring something with someone, and here's one thing, here's how we started out. It's called the inversion process. And basically what it is you imagine the future and you imagine the worst thing that could happen. So what if we're successful and the worst thing happens? Like, what if we successfully develop a partnership and the worst thing comes out of that?
Yeah,
So then you go, yeah, that would be, you know, by the way, I'm gonna tell you in a moment why that's important. But then you're able to, like, reverse engineer and get clarity, and you can be thinking ahead about some potential obstacles that you can reverse engineer to avoid, and that, by the way, is if you proceed.
yeah,
I'm gonna say one thing here, and that is that, another part of that is in the beginning, there's a forming stage, and it's like an ideation stage, and it's the idea that we could partner, and I think it really is easy to go, "Oh, man, this could be awesome." Well,
right.
there's a certain kind of energy that comes with that because the idea has infinite potential, and that still doesn't mean that the partnership is a good partnership, right? Like, yes, there's potential in the idea, and there's a lot of energy that comes with that, but it's also why it's good to intentionally slow yourself down so
Yeah,
that, when the honeymoon's over and you're in the grind, can we grind together? Like, can we,
yes,
can we, like you said, Can we disagree? And still have win-win? Can we communicate in ways that are we still have mutual
Yes.
respect for each other? And I think you also get to see the level of desperation that a person has and, like, what it means to them.
Yeah.
And I think that they're either doing it kind of from an abundance mindset, like they love the potential and the idea of growth, or they're really desperate from a sort of scarcity place, and it's like, really, really need this to work, right? I'm
Right.
not okay if this doesn't work kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah, no, and a couple of things I just add to that too. I had an experience. This has probably been a year and a half, 2 years ago. There was another business, a person that I greatly respect, fully would partner with them on something that made
yeah,
sense. We had an idea. We were going all full steam ahead with it, and it was industry that I just thought I wanted to be in. Well, as we started to get to putting the rubber to the road and really doing it, we were about ready to sign agreements and do the whole thing. And I guess maybe this shows, I guess, one of my weaknesses. I do get very excited. I do get very I'm ready to go on things. And I used to hesitate more on decision making. And so I've worked really hard on making decisions faster, which I think can be a good thing.
yeah,
But this is one where, to your point, you don't. And so I started digging into the industry. And I realized that industry, the money, the way it worked was not what I thought. And we ultimately decided not to move forward, not because we wouldn't be good partners, but because that industry was we looked at the numbers and we're like, this is crazy. Like,
doesn't
why
make
would we
sense.
ever do
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
So I think it's good to really make sure you are being the skeptic,
yeah,
not from a negative standpoint, but from a reality standpoint. Is this really a good idea? Is this going to work? How would it look? How would it feel? As we get in the grind, what does that look like? Um, how does it affect work life things that are going on or other businesses or whatever?
mhm,
And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about just briefly that came out of that is I think another huge key for my journey, and that's been trusting my gut.
mm,
And so that has been very much a learned skill. Like some areas of my life, I've always kind of had that, but
mhm,
with the entrepreneurial journey, like that's been a new muscle to develop.
okay,
And there's been times where I think I've moved too quickly on things because I thought it was
yeah,
my gut, but some of it was the excitement. And I guess, well, this is a phrase you use a lot, and I've gotten this phrase from you, does this serve me?
yeah,
And sometimes something that was a good idea, and there's things that we're both spiritual and
mhm,
pray about things, and there's things I've gotten very, very clear yes answers to move forward on
mhm,
that hit a point where it was no longer a good thing for me to be a part of.
yeah,
And a few times the consequences felt like starting all over again as an entrepreneur, like leaving something where I was earning an income to all of a sudden have uncertainty of income again,
yeah,
starting something different. But I've learned, even though the short term can be very scary and painful, just like the first jump was, if your gut's telling you, yeah. And for me, I was starting to feel some of the same trapped feelings I was feeling in my previous job that I didn't like.
yeah, right,
And I'm like, wow, this is weird. Like, I chose to be here.
mhm,
And so I had to really look and see, why is this not serving me now? And then make those decisions.
yeah,
And some of the short term on making those decisions has felt very end of the world, kind of crazy, but always it leads me further the path that I know I'm supposed to be on.
yeah,
And
really.
I learn the lessons I'm supposed to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot of that that's like when you have a toxic employee and you just sort of like you don't wanna rip the Band-Aid off because you know you're gonna have to do their job for them, and then you
Yes.
do, and you're like, "Oh my
Yes.
gosh, this is way better than I could have imagined." We still have the challenge, but we're in such a better place, so,
100%.
can you I loved what you said there about intuition, and I'm just wondering, could you tell a couple of quick stories? And you can I know that you I'm not asking you to tell tales out of school or whatever, but can you talk about a time, first of all, when you did not trust your gut, and can you tell a bit of a story in the way that you feel safe telling it,
Yeah.
And you kinda paid for it, and then I want you to contrast that with a time when you did trust your gut and you ended up getting the benefits of going with your gut.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that come to mind. So I guess one of there's several big ones that come to mind. So I'll share one first with an employee.
Mhm,
I had an employee situation where initially there was a lot of things expressed and skill sets they had, brought them on. They were demonstrating like it was awesome. They were doing all the things that they said. Um, and then a little bit further down the road, I started noticing some things.
mhm,
And but I saw a lot of potential in that person. Like we had really been investing in helping them in a lot of areas. And it was almost like the sunk cost fallacy that people fall into. I kind of felt like we had invested so much time and energy and whatever, and I kind of let it keep going. And we hit a spot where there were some things that I just could not let go.
mhm,
And I knew, even though in my gut, I had knew there was a problem that I needed to fix, but I was trying to coach it.
mhm.
And I think I let that go on way too long until I hit a spot where it was like, okay, clearly
Yeah.
this needs to happen.
Mhm,
Made the move, let them go. And it's, at least in my experience, it tends to be a universal principle
mhm,
that once I find out someone is a toxic employee and I let them go, I find out all these things that people haven't told me that were happening on top of what I knew. And so in this case, I had some customers. Oh, good. We're so glad. He just didn't really represent the way you and your brand do.
mhm.
And in my mind, I'm like, why didn't you tell
Right.
me? I want to hear that
Yeah.
sooner. But on the other hand, it's really I pay a lot closer attention, and there's some key things that character traits, willingness to take ownership,
Mhm.
taking accountability. If nothing is ever your fault, it's probably not going to work out. And
Yeah.
so I try to watch for those things earlier. And then I guess and the other example I'll share was just it was one of the partnerships I was in, and we had hit a level of success, and the income that was from that was more comfortable, and there were just things that my gut was telling me I needed to switch.
Mhm.
And it was one of the scariest things I've ever had to do because it felt crazy. Like we built this, it's working. Um, and I delayed it longer than I should have. I'm learning that every time I have that kind of feeling and I delay it, things are always worse if you delay it.
Yeah.
It's more painful. Um, and so did make that move, and I don't know this. So I've been in the entrepreneurial side of things almost 6 years now,
Mhm.
and there's been a lot of bumps and pivot points and wins and celebrations, and I guess I'm just learning that if I start feeling unsettled or trapped or there's something I'm not facing or a decision I'm not making that I need to make, and usually the most, I guess, anxiety or trapped the stronger those feelings are, usually the bigger the decision is.
Yeah.
And the quicker I make that decision, the better my life gets, the more kind of like you just said with the employee. I think it's true of any area of your life. If there's something big holding you back
Mhm.
and you're feeling that dissonance and your gut's telling you got to do something, if you kind of let that ride, you just stay stuck
Yeah.
and your business can't grow, your relationship can't grow. You make that decision, even though it's painful. Sometimes it depends on what it means. Sometimes it's instantly relief. Sometimes it's painful. I don't know. I'm trying to formulate this. I think maybe what I'm trying to say is, because it's really about being honest about who you are, what you want,
Yes,
what you're trying to do. And the more honest and true your decisions are to that,
exactly.
the better it is.
Yep.
And so if you're feeling that feeling in your gut,
Yeah.
it's because there's internal fight between what, you're trying to do, who you are, and what is happening and what you're allowing to happen. Um when I was younger, I never really understood boundaries. I didn't get it. Like, why would you set boundaries? And now I realize how often in any of my partnerships that have, that I've exited or whatever, I've realized that a lot of that is my own growth, right? So either I didn't set enough clarity around what my expectations were, what I needed. I didn't set boundaries to kind of safeguard that what is super important to me happens. And so I think that again is one of the biggest things that I've changed in employees and team and how it works and my family is there's things that are critical to who I am and me being okay and me feeling happy in my life and putting boundaries around them is not an act of negativity to others. It's not a distrusting thing. It's an empowering thing that helps you to be able to be the best you and to show up for people the way you want to show up. And so that's been the other thing that I've completely changed because I really did. I remember the first time somebody talked about boundaries. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why would you? I'm here to serve. I'm here to, and realizing that, yes, I'm here to serve, but there are boundaries to put in place to make sure that your life and your family and your family time, things are protected
Yes.
and guarded.
Yeah. Yeah. Smart. Very well said. So when you think about the next 5 years for you, what do you see is on your horizon? And because, we've this whole time we've been talking about you're kind of here to their journey, right? And how you went from working for somebody else and over the last 6 years, everything that's transpired, to get you where we are now. So if you look ahead just the next 2 or 3 to 5, 6 years, what do you see on the horizon? What kind of things are you thinking about?
I see the foundation that has been built in the company that I have and in my life, and I see that foundation being expanded
Uh-huh.
and things being built on that foundation that I've dreamed of for years and years. And but you have to build the foundation first. You
Uh-huh.
have to set things, and I think the entrepreneurial journey, the learnings is going to keep going, and so I'm sure I'm going to keep shifting a little bit what that clarity is of where I'm going. But a bigger team helping more customers, even more focus on clarity around customer experience. How do we elevate that even more? How do we set ourselves apart even more? And then expanding to other locations in, South Carolina and um, doing that in such a way that we are honoring the foundation that we built and honoring our customers and continuing to deliver at the highest level we possibly can in a way that we are building a better life for everybody involved.
Nice.
And that's what I'm about. I want every team member to be coached and to have opportunities to learn and read and grow and in any area of their life. We've had an employee in the past that, we paid for a personal trainer for them.
Yeah.
They had a goal that revolved around that. We've had other things that we've done. And I want to keep, that kind of culture. And I'm looking forward to talking in 4 to 5 years about what has come to be
Yeah.
and who has become involved in that story because I want to grow with other people and continue to build, I guess, the C-suite of our company
Yeah.
and as well as, all levels.
Mhm.
But that's some of the next roles that we're looking at
Nice.
and how we continue to elevate what we do. I'm just excited about being better every day and learning every day and being around a team of people that's what they're about as well.
Yeah. Outstanding. I love all of that. And it's kinda like what we were talking about before. Everything that you just mentioned and more it's waiting there, right? And
Yeah.
it's a predictable, but not simple.
Right.
There's a process by which all that happens and unfolds and gets created in the in other words, uh, where you are now in 2020, you couldn't have exactly known where it was, but it was waiting on you. And the same thing,
Yeah.
when we move ahead to like 2032 or, um, yeah, that it's there, right? Um,
100%.
yeah, that's excellent. So, let me ask you this and we'll kind of wrap up with these thoughts. Um, or make sure if we haven't covered something. Look, I mean, again, I always want people to know what my heart is in doing the Refinery podcast is that I love this journey. And it is a journey of faith for me. I love people like you. I love being on this journey with people like you. And I think when we tell our stories, it's definitely helpful for anyone who takes the time to dig in and listen, because there's so much that we've said here in the last several minutes that people, if they're listening, like they're nodding their heads, like, yes, that, and me too. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
me
get
too.
that. And also, I very intentionally want to position people and make sure that people, increase the awareness of people about you and people like you. So we'll make sure that everyone, people that don't know you and they come upon this, they'll know how to get a hold of you for sure, as I would for anyone. But it's just kind of, I think I'd like to end on just some words of encouragement. Like, just think about someone who's where you were in any part of your journey. What is just some word of encouragement that you'd like to just give them about what they may or may be going through right now?
Yeah. I would just say that you can accomplish way more than you think. And the way to do it is while reading and studying and taking action, as you said,
Mhm,
small actions. Um, and it was while I was working for someone else that I ran into a John Maxwell book,
mhm.
and I started taking action that was in that book, and that actually helped me in that company to become a manager.
Mhm.
And just whether you're in a company, out of a company, if you're taking ownership of your life
Yeah.
and I would just constantly be setting some new target, some new thing that you're going to do to grow.
Mhm.
And as you do that, and I guess one last thing that popped in my head that has been a huge part of our journey too, that
Yeah.
I would add to that, look at what kind of energy you're bringing to it.
Yeah.
How we talked a little bit about positivity earlier,
Mhm.
and I don't believe in blind positivity, but I definitely believe in positivity and bringing energy to what we do.
Yeah.
Um, some of this hasn't really come full circle for me until more recently. But actually, probably 25 years ago, I was in a call center. Um, we'd get phone calls of people that had just had their phone turned off and
Yeah.
they got us and they need to make a payment. So we talked to very happy people.
Mm.
No. And they decided that they were going to give us a sales component to what we did. And so they're like, we know, you're talking to upset people. Um, we're going to give you a target of 1%. So you have to make a 1% sale of, I think it was voice command or
Mhm.
something. And at the beginning, we all kind of moaned and groaned about it. And I don't remember what happened, but one day I just realized if I was enthusiastic, if I used happy, like later they called it delightful words and phrases,
Mhm.
but if I spoke in that way, people were more
Yeah.
receptive and my calls were better and the sales went up. And that's been a core part of my journey. So wherever you are, if you're around a lot of doom and gloom and worry about things, I would try to lean into I can do this and positivity and while taking action and bring that energy to it, and you'll be amazed at what happens, like, amazed. It's, combining, faith in God and prayers
Yeah.
and all of those things. It truly is a magical thing because others feel that energy and there is a response. There is a reciprocal people are drawn to that,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm sure you've done the same. There's been people I've interacted with, some as customers, some in just my life, who were really upset or frustrated and kind of short. And if I bring my energy, not my energy, if I bring a good positive energy, a lot of times by the end we're best friends and they're talking about their kids um and they want to do business with you. They want to interact with you. They want to grow with you, whatever the case may be. So if I had advice, that would be it. Take actions, bring that energy to those actions, and really take ownership of it,
Mhm.
and you'll be amazed at what happens in your life.
Nice. Outstanding. Well, I know that for us, this is one of many great conversations, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for you and your friendship, as I know a lot of people are. And I definitely appreciate you
Thank you.
taking some time to be on the Refinery podcast today. And thank you so much for your time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for asking me. I really do feel honored that you asked. So thank you.
You bet. Well, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.